You're listening to Storytime with Senator John Kennedy.
I put some lube on and got him on his knees. And I began to slide.
Boogie! Coming at you from the Skyhammer studio here on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. This is the El Donzo and D Show.
You have insanity in my earpiece.
Oh, we've got a lot of insanity in your earpieces today. I'm El Donzo.
I'm Deez.
And the fooly monkey shines that we're seeing going on right now in the country and in our government is, needless to say, pretty unprecedented, wouldn't you say, Deez?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a slow week there for a little bit, but things have really kind of picked up the last few days.
It's kind of seeming like it now, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Now, wasn't it? So we've got a lot of stuff. So we heard from Storytime with Senator Kennedy.
Yeah.
In the cold open, and there's a story behind that. And no, that's not Barack Obama's letters to his girlfriend he's reading. That's an actual book. We're going to get to that story. We've got a lot of stuff to get to. And of course, you know, Joe Biden is just this. Look, he didn't go to the 9/11 memorial in New York City.
First president to not.
First president, I think you're correct to go. And, of course, they came out and said something like, well, 22 years later, presidents weren't going to Pearl Harbor. Well, yes, they were. Yes, they were. Okay, I believe it was Kennedy went there. Anyway, regardless, maybe it wasn't Kennedy, maybe it was Johnson. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yes, presidents do this. 9/11, okay, which was on, I believe it was Monday, was the darkest moment in this century for us so far. It was the darkest moment since Pearl Harbor.
For sure.
Now, everybody's freaking out because Joe Biden didn't go. I'm going to tell you something right now, and we've got audio to play from Joe Biden and things he said when he was in Anchorage, Alaska. He should have been at the 9/11 memorial, but, you know, we've got a story about Rudy Giuliani that he hardly could contain himself, which he was the mayor of New York City at the time while this was going on. He helped to drag New York City out of the rubble of 9/11. Along with, you know, I'll give him kudos on this. George W. Bush did a great job after 9/11. He did a great job dealing with it. But there's a reason that Joe Biden didn't go to the 9/11 memorial. They know Joe Biden just couldn't help to open his mouth. And he does that, and we've got the sound bites for you. And it's, you know, it's not surprising that Joe Biden does stuff like this. But this was done by design. They were keeping him as far away from ground zero as they possibly could, because they knew he just can't help himself. Deez, what do you think?
Well, it's possible, but at the same time, I mean, he's still going to be somewhere where he's speaking in public, and, you know.
I thought they were, actually what I thought they were going to do, Deez, I thought they were just going to tell him, don't say anything about 9/11. I really thought.
Can
and
you
then
imagine?
He snuck it in. Yeah.
Can you imagine the backlash, though, if he went the entire day without saying
yeah, but
something?
that's one of those things. Damned if they do and damned if they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, they make it exponentially worse when he opens his mouth about something. It's almost better to treat him like a mushroom, keep him in the closet, keep him full of crap. You know, don't bring him out.
What kind of mushrooms are you eating?
Obviously the good kind. I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting here with you right now doing this show. So,
you need
I mean, I got to have
stronger than mushrooms.
Yeah, I know,
buddy.
right? I know. So, Biden said a couple things about 9/11. Well, he said one thing about 9/11, then he opened up with one. And let me see if I can get this pulled up real quick here. He opened up in Anchorage, Alaska, with a bit of a joke. And it just didn't go over good, because 9/11's not one of those things you really joke about. Am I right, Deez? It's just not funny.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, there's Pete Davidson had some pretty good ones, but being how his dad actually died at 9/11 as a firefighter, I think he has the right to make jokes about it.
Yeah, he does, but let me see if I can pull this up real quick. So, Biden was at Joint Base Elmdorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska, commemorating the attacks that, of course, took place on September 11th, 2001. This is how out of touch he is. He just can't not make it about himself is my issue with this.
He tries way too hard to be likable.
And we've covered this before in the past about everything. Yeah, he tries to be likable, he tries to relate, and he can't relate. Okay, he's a rich guy from his, you're going to hear it, Scranton. But I want to play this for you, and it just didn't go over well. Here we go, roll clip.
Thank you, Chief Master Sergeant Miller, for that introduction and for your service to our nation. Governor Dunleavy, it's good to see you. Governor and I have something in common. We're both from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Who gives a damn?
I wish I had him playing in my high school ball club that I was playing.
Idiot.
But I could have been an All-American, have you in front of me.
Now, that's got nothing to do with 9/11. But he's got to bring up Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Right.
It's just one of those things. And he was actually semi-coherent, but he still sounds like he's drunk. He still sounds like he's trying, like, you ever come home and the old lady's like, you've been out drinking. You're like, no, I have not been drinking. You know, you're trying to get through it. That's just, I don't know, something that seems to be one of his MOs.
Just goes on to show that the only thing good to ever come out of Scranton, Pennsylvania was Michael Scott and Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah, well, Dunder Mifflin. Yeah, well, it definitely wasn't Joe Biden, I can tell you that much right now. So Joe Biden, he reins it in, and he starts talking about 9/11, and he goes into something else that is just odd. And I'm going to play this for everybody real quick. Let's pull this up. These are his comments about the aftermath of 9/11.
Ground Zero in New York. And I remember standing there the next day and looking at the building. I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell. It looked so devastating because from where you could stand.
Now, here's the thing, folks. Joe Biden wasn't there the next day.
No.
There's zero evidence he was there. He was in D.C. at the time. He didn't go there until, 9 days later?
Yeah.
He just can't stop lying.
He went with a group, I don't know if it was just senators or if it was a group from Congress, but yeah, it was 9 days later.
It was 9 days later, just like he was thrown in a jail in Africa.
Yeah, and his house burnt down.
And his house burnt
died.
down, and then he was whizzing in the urinal and it splashed back at him, and that's his hurricane experience.
He's a one-upper. You know what I mean?
He is.
Anytime something tragic happens or whatever, he's got a story about it that, I'm trying to relate to you because, yes, these wildfires destroyed half of the island, but, my kitchen had a grease fire once. So, I'm right there with you.
He's an absolute ass clown is the only way to describe Joe Biden. And it started to piss people off. And I think and we're going to get into this a little bit later because, coming up in the elections, I was talking to somebody about this earlier. And it kind of ties in. Let me see how much time I got. I was talking to somebody about this earlier today. They were saying that Donald Trump, needs to go out and get the independent vote. Okay? He needs to go out and get the independent vote. When you see Donald Trump's numbers, that's not factored in independence. I'm going to tell you something right now. I know independents. No independent that I've ever talked to likes Joe Biden. Most Democrats don't like Joe Biden. Look, you don't have to go and pander to the independents at this point. If anything, the independents, the hardcore independents that don't have their minds made up, if they don't have it made up now, they're sitting home. They're just not going to go out and vote. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
They're not going to go, well, I got to choose Joe Biden because he's not Trump, or I have to choose Trump because it's not Joe Biden. They're not going to do that. They're going to sit at home. It's not going to be a vote lost or a vote gained at this point. It's just not going to be that way. Look, if you look at Donald Trump's numbers, Donald Trump is tied with Joe Biden right now in the polls. We're going to put the polls in the next segment. You know what else we're going to do, which might surprise people? We're going to pull up the polls from Florida as well. Who do you think's leading in the polls in Florida?
Well, I mean, I would assume people might assume that DeSantis would be leading.
And they would be wrong.
That would be my...
He's not leading.
Yeah.
He's absolutely not leading. He's getting smashed in his own damn state, which is kind of odd, but I'm going to unravel it. I don't think it's that odd at all, to be honest with you. They want DeSantis for certain purposes, and DeSantis is a good guy, and he can do certain things. Now ain't his time.
DeSantis is like the rocket that SpaceX fired off here, a couple months ago in their first test for the moon, where it looked great, coming off the, whatever the hell they call that. And
the launch pad?
Yeah, that's it. Got off the launch pad real nice, got up there, and then blew up.
Well, Eldonzo and Dees are not going to have a failure to launch. We're also going to talk about Cornel West in the next segment, too. And we've got some more BS for you about Joe Biden, about Cornel West is in the race, and he's pulling some points as well. We're going to go over those stats with you. We also talked in the last segment about just how not well DeSantis is performing in his own state. We've also got this thing, and I got to touch on this because nuclear war and climate change really pluck my britches, excuse the term. But Joe Biden seemed to merge these two together. We're going to get to that hopefully in this segment as well. Talk a little bit about nuclear war. Because personally, I don't know. I still think we're closer to nuclear war than we've ever been. What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, how can you deny it at this point? People are running around going, no, there's no such thing. Nobody's going to launch a nuke. Look, we're in a bad state of affairs right now. Russia is not in as bad a state as we think they are. But they're getting to that point to where they got to win this thing. So we're going to talk about that a little bit too. And we're going to get old Sleepy Joe Biden's take on it. Now, real quick, before we get into the presidential polls, and talk about Cornel West and Joe Biden, and because I think Cornel West is running as an independent, so he's going to absolutely hurt him. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, Florida polls. Okay, August 23rd, 2023, Republican primary in Florida for 2024, the Republican nominee. Don't look at the screen, Dees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe you did. Where do you think Trump and DeSantis are at for Florida?
Numbers wise?
Yeah.
I'm going to say 40 for Trump and 22 for DeSantis.
All right, look at the numbers. Trump has got 64% of Florida support right now, and DeSantis has only got 36%.
Wow.
He's a governor of Florida, right? Now, what's really telling about this is that
where's Ramaswamy?
Ramaswamy's not even in there.
Oh,
he's
this
not
is
even
just
in there.
between those two?
Just between those two.
Oh,
so it's,
okay. Well, I would have changed my numbers. I thought it was going to be
no. You're talking
candidates.
about you're talking roughly an average of 32% more people in Florida are going for Trump than they are their own governor. They love DeSantis.
No, that's still high, yeah.
That's still higher than hell. Now, if you go back to June 11th for Florida, they were tied in a dead heat, 41%. 41 DeSantis, 41 Trump. That's skyrocketed. DeSantis is losing his footing in a bad way right now.
Yeah, I think people have started to realize that it's just not going to happen for him this time around. Maybe he can make a recovery in 4 years, but I barring whatever is going to happen to Donald, with all these court cases, I think everybody's dead in the water. But.
Well, I think they're probably banking on he's going to be ended up going to jail or he's going to be killed.
Yeah.
I mean, something's got to give here. Now, look, I like Ron DeSantis. I always have liked Ron DeSantis. He would make a great president, but right now is not his time. And it's obvious the people that he won in a landslide victory, the gubernatorial race for Florida. Landslide. Historic for Florida. Excuse me.
Oh, this last time.
Yeah.
Say he barely won the first time, correct?
But exactly.
Yeah.
And Trump did drag him across the finish line.
Yeah.
He needed Trump. Trump got him over there. But the same people that voted for him in a landslide victory are saying, whoa, you need to stay in your lane. This ain't your time.
Yeah.
This is not your time to go in and do this, which I think is very telling. Now, I didn't know about these numbers, but I wondered, okay, what's Florida look like? Because they didn't have them on real clear politics. I haven't heard anything about it. I knew DeSantis was dropping. DeSantis' campaign is a mad dash to get money. And I thought, I wonder what it looks like in Florida. And I was actually shocked it was that much of a spread, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, you just wouldn't think it. So anyway.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think, and this is obviously just conjecture of opinion.
I try not to think it gets me in trouble, Dees.
Right. So let's say none of this legal stuff happens with Trump.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a lot closer today than, because they were, like you said, they were super close. And then all these indictments started coming down. And, the numbers have shown that the more trouble Trump gets into, the higher his poll numbers go. So it makes me wonder where we would be today if none of these indictments had come down and it just turned into, and it would have, Trump slinging mud at DeSantis and DeSantis probably taking the higher road just to try and save a little face. I'm just curious as to what those numbers would look like.
Okay, so here's what I think. I think the numbers wouldn't look as good, okay, for a couple reasons here. First of all, the Democrat Party, stop this Democrat Party BS. Let's just say the establishment, okay? The establishment does not want him, and the establishment knows that the more things they do to Donald Trump, the more support he's going to get. That's why I think they may have something up their sleeve for him. It goes back to saying, why are these candidates sticking in this? They obviously think he's going to be thrown in jail, or they think he's going to be killed, or something's going to happen to him. Because we're at that stage right now, in what should be a constitutional republic has become a banana republic. We don't know what's going to happen. I think that the support for him grows every time somebody comes out and throws another BS indictment, because these are all BS indictments. Even if you go back to Florida, which the Mar-a-Lago raid and the documents was the strongest thing they have on Trump. But the precedent is so awful because they've let Clinton get away with it. They let, Hillary Clinton get away with it. Bill Clinton get away with it. They let Joe Biden get away with it. They've let all these people get away with this. So the precedent that they're setting right now is garbage.
Yeah.
I don't know how they can get him unless they do something underhanded, which they've been doing for years. So I think what we're seeing right now is they have to know that this is going to charge his support. They almost, in my mind, I'm almost paranoid about this, thinking they want him to have this much support. But at this point, how do you not become paranoid, Deez?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not really just start second-guessing everything you see? I will say this, though. The American people are fed up, and I think this is going to be one of those issues where they better watch how hard they pray for something. And by they, I mean the establishment, the left, the rhinos. They better watch it because they may open up a can of worms, Deez. They can't put the lid back on, brother. I think it's getting to that point right now.
I think we're probably past that point
I think we're probably past it too. But one thing that has emerged, and still trying to make heads or tails of this, Cornel West, he is a big socialist, big communist.
Never heard of him.
Harvard professor. He's an a-hole. Okay, I just say it right now. So
wait, is he the African American gentleman with the almost
looks like Don King?
Yeah,
like
okay.
like Don King on.
I know who you're talking about.
That did the pushaways from the table.
Yeah,
he's a former Harvard professor. Okay, he's a political pundit, and he's trying to get the Green Party nomination for president, and he's to the left of, I don't know, I would say Barack Obama, but to the left of everybody.
Left of the left?
He's to the left of the left. And I've got this pulled up here real quick. I want to try and find it. Where we got Cornel West? Cornel West is going to be an upset right now. Okay? Cornel West takes, right here. Here it is. Takes 5% of the vote away from Joe Biden. In every poll we've got, I've always said it before, I don't trust polls.
No.
All right? But when you look at such a spread, it's interesting. It gives you an idea, a snapshot in time where people should be at, depending on which polls they are. Now, Trafalgar polls are the most accurate that I've ever seen. These aren't Trafalgar, 538, CNN, Fox News. But Cornel West is getting a big chunk of those votes that Biden would be getting. And with Cornel West running, I do not see how Biden wins the presidential nomination because Cornel West is a spoiler for the Democrats. They are scared to death of Cornel West. I'm surprised Cornel West is actually doing this because there's no way Cornel West can win. All he's going to do is take votes away from Biden. So, what I think we should do is a bit of an Operation Chaos, as we did about 14 years ago when it was going to be Obama. We should start going out there in the primaries and trying to get Cornel West as much support as we can.
Is Joe Manchin still a player?
Joe Manchin, to my knowledge, is not a player.
As in not running, or hasn't decided?
He has made no determination whatsoever, to my knowledge.
No.
Now, we can look that up and cover it in the next segment and have all our ducks in a row. But Cornel West is, like I said, going to be a big spoiler for the Democrat Party. And I think it's probably a good thing. Usually the Green Party tends to take independents, depending on, or not the Green Party, the Independent Party usually tends to take people right down the middle of the road, people who want to ride a fence. They don't want to say, I voted for this guy, I should have voted for that guy. Cornel West is a diehard, dyed-in-the-wool liberal. So if he can get those votes and take them away, because we have to go back to this other thing too, the voter fraud. Anything we can do to counteract that.
Yeah.
We got to get somebody back in there that's going to take care of America, because Joe Biden's not going to do it. Welcome back to the El Donzo and D Show. Looks more like Cheech and Chong up in smoke from my point of view, though. I'm El Donzo.
I'm Deez.
And you just took a big hit of that vape, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
If you go to YouTube and check us out there, you'll be able to see it a lot better, I think.
Well, yeah, considering that you can't see us on the radio, Einstein.
We have faces for radio, don't we now?
Yes, we do.
So, we were talking a little bit in the last segment about why I think Joe Biden's going to bomb, and a couple of the factors that go into that. But I got to say this, though. The guy, his logic, and this is how I know he's winging this. Nobody wrote this for him. This couldn't have been scripted, what I'm about to play you right now. It couldn't have been. There's no way anybody would go, yeah, that makes sense. There's no way. There's no way. Oh, God. Let me pull this story up real quick. So, during a media event in Hanoi, Vietnam, Joe Biden decided to talk about global warming. Okay, in Hanoi, Vietnam. Now he's pandering to the Vietnamese, by the way. Just got to get this out of the way, because China's reaching out with their big grasp with the BRICS thing, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, which are trying to take over our, get us off the dollar standard in the world and get everything going to their stuff. So they're trying to reach out. So Biden gets on a plane, hops it to Hanoi, and goes over there and starts pandering to them. The remark that he has made about global warming and nuclear war to me. Now, let's face it, nuclear war, once a nuke gets launched, okay?
Game over, man.
Yeah, like Bill Paxton in Aliens. Game over, man. One nuke gets launched. The whole world's going to lose their sticks. If Vladimir Putin does one tactical nuke in Ukraine, battlefield nuke, surgical nuke, whatever you want to call them, surface burst, air burst, doesn't matter. We have NATO already saying they're going to go in there all guns ablaze and start shooting down Russian planes. Now, speaking about shooting down Russian planes, there's another story I want to get to after this one about a Russian plane that actually fired at a British plane but didn't hit it. We'll get into that story later. This is how close we are to nuclear war. Now, nuclear war is MAD. All right, that's why these countries, us, Russia, China, have all these nuclear weapons. It's mutually assured destruction if anybody fires a nuke. As soon as one nuke goes, we're going to start launching them back and forth.
Yeah.
What's that going to mean? That's going to mean at least 90% of the population, 90% of the world's population in the northern hemisphere is going to be dead within a year. That's pretty bad, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so.
Now, global warming going up 1.5 degrees Celsius, I don't think that's too bad. I like warm weather. What do you think, Deez? I mean, don't you think you could get accustomed to that over the next, 10, 20 years?
1.5 degrees?
1.5 degrees. Average temperature goes up 1.5 degrees. What do you think?
I think that's tolerable.
I think it's pretty good. I can think of a lot worse situations, but Joe Biden, oh no. Wendy, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to say something stupid. Here he is. This is Joe Biden comparing global warming to nuclear war. This is long-winded, but roll clip.
They're carbon absorbed from the atmosphere on a daily basis. And I'll look to my friend John Kerry, who's forgotten more about this than most people know. Correct me if I get this wrong, John, but I'm quite sure I'm right. And that is that there's more carbon absorbed from the air into the Amazon region, into the ground, than admitted in the entire United States on the same basis. Now imagine if people go in and do what we did 150, 250 years ago and cut down the forest and start farming in that area. No longer have that great carbon sink. It would be a gigantic problem. So we should be going to areas, whether it's in the Congo or other places, as the G7 nations and the wealthy G20 nations, though, and providing the kind of infrastructure they need to be able to benefit. And guess what? In addition to helping the environment,
can you believe
overall,
I cut this short?
And the only existential threat humanity faces, even more frightening than a nuclear war, is global warming going above 1.5 degrees in the next 10 years. It'd be real trouble. There's no way back from that.
There's no way. Okay, he just said scarier than nuclear war is global warming going up 1.5 degrees over the next couple decades. That's scarier than nuclear war. There's no coming back from that. You know what there's no coming back from? A nuclear holocaust. Yeah. You ignorant a-hole. How can you... What the hell is going on here?
But to be fair, 1.5 degrees, I mean, yeah, when you walk outside, if it's an average of 1.5 degrees, it doesn't really affect us per se on the daily, but that does affect the ice caps and flooding and things like that. So it's far more reaching than just being 87 degrees instead of 85 right here in central Illinois. But it still pales in comparison to global nuclear war.
Here's the problem with this. Climate change has been around since the Earth's been around. We are in a cycle right now where the climate's always changing. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's been proven. There's nothing. We don't even know we're the cause of it. So how in the hell are you going to say that this is existential crisis, this is horrible, nuclear war? Let me tell you something. If the average global temperature went up 10 degrees on average, okay, we would go north. All right? We go to greener pastures. If it went down 10 degrees, we may go south, right? We find a way. We have transportation, don't we? Our vehicles run in the wintertime, same as they run in the summertime, right?
Well, for now.
But until we go electric, then they don't run at all. But we would, as human beings, as a civilized society, we would adapt to that. I'm going to tell you one thing you can't adapt to. Nuclear fallout and complete destruction of our civilization. You can't adapt to that. This guy is so far off his damn rocker. How can you... We're on the radio. And I kind of stammered there for now. I kind of stammered there. Wait till we get to John Kennedy's thing. I kind of stammered a little bit. And I caught myself. And we've both said things, haven't we? That we're like, oh, wait a minute. We got to walk that back. We get mid-sentence and you're like, no, this isn't going to go good. The fact that this idiot says that and nothing triggers, no alarms in his head. He just keeps going and going and going like the Energizer flipping bunny. Don't you think his staff would say anything to him about this? Like, dude, you're comparing greenhouse gas emissions and stuff to nuclear war.
I mean, you would think so, but at this point, I don't think it really surprises any of them. So they're just, I mean, it's whatever. And I think that people in the back rooms know that, he's on borrowed time, because I still firmly believe that he's not going to be the candidate.
Well, there's also a lot of talk about Michelle Obama ramping up for this too, so we'll have to see how that plays out. But so I've got mixed feelings about this. But McCarthy announced that the House is going to launch impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden. Did you read about this?
A little bit, yeah.
I got mixed feelings about it, to be honest with you. Part of me says it doesn't matter because the Senate's not going to get behind it anyway.
It's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time. But then again, it's also one of those deals to where, wait a minute, these are the rules you wanted to play by. Let's go ahead and play by them. Let's drag you up in this for a little while, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Just like, and you've got the story pulled up, Hunter Biden's charges aren't going to go anywhere. He just got indicted.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember, this guy runs the federal government. What's going to happen with it? So anyway, all this corruption, all this stuff going on, they finally, launched impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But what they also did, too, was they came out swinging, and they have actually called for news outlets and media to scrutinize Republicans on the Biden impeachment. So they actually sent these letters out to these news organizations. This is from Fox News. The White House was forcefully criticized after they sent a letter calling on the media to increase scrutiny of House Republicans in their impeachment inquiry into President Biden. Ian Sams, a special assistant to the president and spokesperson for the White House counsel's office, wrote the letter. They're asking them to go out and pretty much do battle with the Republicans because they dare impeach President Biden. Can you believe this?
Oh, well, yeah, I believe it.
Ian Sams came out, and this is what really gets me about it. I said President Trump, sorry about that. Ian Sams came out after nearly 9 months of investigating. This is what he said in regards to the impeachment. After nearly 9 months of investigating, House Republicans haven't been able to turn up any evidence of the president doing anything wrong. But House Republicans led by Marjorie Taylor Greene are nonetheless opening a baseless impeachment inquiry of President Biden, despite many House Republicans openly admitting there is no evidence on which to support it. Well, that's a bunch of BS, isn't it, nowadays?
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that in the next segment, right here on the Aldonzo and D Show on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal.